Stephen King's writing routine sets unrealistic expectations for ADHD writers, and it can do a serious number on your self-esteem and mental health. All ADHD writers are failures, or at least that's what we all feel like. And one of the reasons why we feel like that is because of videos like these. Videos in which neurotypical people try for 3 days, 30 days, however many days, to do the writing routine of neurotypical writers such as Stephen King. Now, they follow this writing routine, and at the end they report that they have never been this productive. So you see these videos as an ADHD writer and you think, oh, well, I'm a failure. I have not been able to accomplish anything I've wanted to. And this apparently works for everyone. So let's follow this writing routine. But before you know it, you fall on your face and you feel even worse about your own productivity. Now, that is not because you are a failure. It is because these writing routines were not designed for people with ADHD. So what I would do is I would take Stephen King's writing routine and I would break down exactly why for ADHD writers this doesn't work. Now, I'm Susanna, I'm an ADHD writing coach, and I'm here to tell you that it is absolutely possible for you to achieve all your writing goals, just not if you follow Stephen King's writing routine. So let's get started. Stephen King's writing routine is very simple, really. So apparently he starts every morning with a 5-kilometer walk. Very interesting. After that, he sits down at his desk, and this is where it gets interesting. So what he does is he recommends that you enter your writing space and you close the door. Then you start blasting the same song on repeat. Now, this is something that we ADHD writers can absolutely live with, I think. Then you read the last page that you wrote yesterday, and then you start writing and revising, and you don't stop until you've achieved your goal. And his goal sounds like the following. This is Stephen King's book on writing, Memoir of the Craft. And in it he says, I like to get 10 pages a day, which amounts to 2,000 words. Now, I do not object to that goal at all. 10 pages a day, 2,000 words, that's a really lovely goal. But for him, it is not so much a goal as it is a requirement. He cannot leave his office, he cannot stop writing until he has written and polished 2,000 words. Now, it might work for him and it might work for a lot of neurotypical people, but this routine is a recipe for disaster when you're an ADHD writer. It can really do a number not only on your writing practice, but also on your self-esteem and even your mental health. First of all, in Stephen King's routine, there are no breaks built in. Now, if you easily get into hyperfocus on a particular day, that is no problem at all. You won't want to take breaks anyway. And that is the dream, right? To sit down, slip into hyperfocus, and just write your heart out. But there's a problem with hyperfocus, and that is that hyperfocus will drain your energy reserves. So if you slip into this hyperfocus and you write for hours straight without a break to achieve your writing goal, then I can guarantee that the day after, and maybe even the day after that, you are not going to be able to achieve your writing goal until maybe even late at night, or maybe not at all. You might not be able to focus at all because you have drained all your reserves on that one big hyperfocus day. So this writing routine might work great for a day if you are lucky enough to slip into hyperfocus easily on that day. But on the days after, you're going to be in deep, deep trouble. What's more, it will make sure that writing becomes a punishment for you. So on those days when you are not doing great, on those days when you don't slip into hyperfocus, it is still possible for you to write, and it is still possible for you to get great work done, even though it might not feel that way. But what is happening with Stephen King's writing routine is that it forces you to sit at your desk and write until you have achieved your writing goal. Now, if yesterday you achieved your writing goal by noon, from noon onwards, today you're going to feel awful about yourself. You're going to feel like you are still sitting here because you haven't done your job. You are still sitting here and you have to remain sitting here because you are bad. Writing becomes associated with punishment. Because you have failed, you still need to sit here and write. This is not going to be a very enjoyable experience for you. You're probably going to keep feeling like you have done wrong. I'm getting these associations with being told in school that I had to skip my lunch break because I hadn't finished my homework yet. Now, none of this is going to help you develop a happy and productive relationship with your writing. In fact, if you start associating writing with punishment, it's going to become harder and harder for you to show up to your writing practice at all. And there's a pretty good chance that you're actually going to want to stop writing. Now, this punitive approach probably seems very reasonable to you. And the reason why is precisely, like I just said, it has been used throughout your childhood to keep you in check and to keep you doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, what we haven't been explained yet is that even though our parents and our caregivers and our teachers will have used this approach to help us, in fact, it didn't help us at all. It ruined our self-esteem and it made us feel awful about who we were as people because everyone else could do what we were supposed to be doing. So why can't we? This doesn't work. The best way to motivate yourself is with positivity, not with punishment. So this punitive approach is another reason why Stephen King's writing routine is probably not going to work for you in the long term. And then there's the biggest trap when you're an ADHD writer, and that is self-editing as a form of procrastination. Now, this self-editing is built into Stephen King's approach. Because what he says is you start every writing session by reading back what you wrote the day before, and you don't step away from your desk until your pages that you wrote today are polished. That means that you're going to start your day reading what you did yesterday. And I can guarantee you that with your level of self-esteem and with your level of perfectionism and your desire to do justice to whatever it is you're writing, you're going to focus on the mistakes as you're writing the page you wrote yesterday. You're going to see all the things that were wrong. You're going to want to edit them. And again, you're not only going to start your writing session feeling like you make too many mistakes and you're a novel writer, but you're also going to be very tempted to actually correct the errors that you see in the page that you wrote yesterday. That means that unless you have iron will and very strongly developed impulse control, which is very unlikely when you have ADHD because a lack of impulse control is actually one of the diagnostic criteria, there's a pretty good chance you're going to start your writing practice revising yesterday's last page instead of starting to write. Now, if that doesn't take all day, and you do at some point manage to move on to actual writing, then there is the second level of editing that Stephen King suggests, and that is polish your pages before you walk away from your desk. Now, for ADHD writers, self-editing is a major form of procrastination. I have talked to writers who have spent 3 months editing the same chapter over and over again, rather than just writing the next chapter in their book. So even if you do manage to write a new page, the fact that it has to be a polished page is going to keep you chained to your desk. Stephen King says that he sometimes finishes his writing goal by noon, and then he can just go off and do whatever he wants to do for the rest of the day. You are going to be the writer who spends all day trying to get this one task done and then feeling awful about themselves for not having done better. Stephen King's writing routine sets unrealistic expectations for ADHD writers, and it can do a serious number on your self-esteem and mental health. It will actually keep you from achieving your future writing goals by keeping you stuck editing right now, by making you associate writing with punishment and therefore reducing your motivation. It will lead to negative self-perception and self-doubt because everyone else can do it, why can't you? And because it will take you all day to do something that Stephen King says he can do in about 4 hours. It will help you develop a toxic relationship with your writing project because you're going to feel more and more negative about yourself anytime you start thinking about writing. So clearly, Stephen King's writing routine does not work for writers with ADHD. But how can you build a writing routine when you have ADHD? Well, luckily, as an ADHD writing coach, I have the answer for you. And I have put that answer in these videos that you can check out next. Talk to you soon.